welcome back to this week's episode of the CryptoNoobz podcast, where we talk about digital finance, emerging tech, and online opportunities. I'm your host, Nelson Ricardo.x, and I'm joined with my co-host.
Lambo 242.
And on this week's episode, we're going to be discussing the 242 Creators and Influencer Conference that was held yesterday. So, with this conference, for those who might not know, this conference is supposed to be something that brings a bunch of the Bahamian creatives together so that we could actually discuss getting direct platform monetization and getting monetization for our content creation. So Lamont and I would have gone to that conference to basically try to get an understanding of what is happening in our country pertaining to the influencers and the creatives. So first off, there does seem to be a lot of speculation. There does seem to be a lot of misinformation and a lot of different things going up around right now. And hopefully, on this episode, we could really clarify and just bring a different perspective to all of those things. So, first and foremost, I want to know, Lamont, like, what was your initial like feeling of what was your initial reaction to the entirety of the conference? Like, what did you expect versus what happened?
Right. To be honest, what was expected pretty much was kind of in line. And the reason I say that is a lot of people went in there with the expectation of like, all right, these are the step one, two, three of how we're gonna get monetized, right? The speed of the conference
Mhm.
versus the announcement, because if I'm not mistaken, the announcement was like a week prior to the conference, right? I
Mhm.
was skeptical, and that's a lot of stuff was going on behind the scenes. I was skeptical of who would have been able to, like representatives from Meta, TikTok, stuff like that, if they would have been able to attend and give some clarity on the situation. Um,
Yeah.
I was, to be honest, I was expecting more. It was a
Mhm.
good conference. It was a good conference. But I think given that what people went in expecting, I don't think a lot of people left with like I don't think they left. They came out with what they thought was gonna be the conversation going forward. But it does indicate that the government is actually paying attention. Like they're actually paying attention to what's going on in the social media space, and they realize the importance of it because right now digital and social media in I mean I don't have the numbers, but I think it's beating traditional media, legacy media, as far as like reach and impact. So that is something where they definitely seem like they're on board with understanding and getting creators up to speed with that. But I think a lot of people might have not. They thought might have been something else than it was.
Yeah. So initially, what it sounded like, or at least what it sounded like was promised, was we're gonna bring Facebook, X, Meta, YouTube. We're gonna bring the big guys into the room and we're gonna have conversations with the big guys. Like
Mhm.
before this podcast, I was cracking joke with you saying like, listen, I was waiting for Mark Zuckerberg to show up. Like
Uh,
I'll be
I
honest.
was not expecting Mark Zuckerberg to show up. I was not expecting that. But
Well,
yeah, you're right. You're right. Right. That's why what you're saying is what would have been ideal, right?
uh,
But I was like, all right, if this was a month or 2 months down the line, definitely, right? But it's like
mm,
this is a week prior, so it was like the timing was like me and Motley was supposed to be on the agenda, and they had a rep. One of the ministers spoke on her behalf, right? And he did an excellent job. Like I love what he said, right? Because he really
mm,
said we live in an age where someone in Nassau, basically in the streets of Nassau, has the same access to reaching a multitude of people as someone who lives in Los Angeles or New York. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the way how we have social media, the way how we have our phones, we get, I can go right now. I could reach people all around the world. Back in the day, everyone was trying to go to LA to be famous. You don't have to do that anymore. You could be in the middle of nowhere. You could be in St. Lucia, Grenadines, Jamaica, and you could build an audience from there. So I really love what he said, but some people was like, "Oh, if Mia Motley coming in person," I was like, first of all, like my friend, she was like Mia Motley. That's like, first of all, that's the prime minister, Bobby. You think she know what I'm gonna do? Not to say like this isn't an important topic, right? But you think they like on a week notice, we could get a world leader to drop what they doing and hey, come speak to some content creators in a different country. Like we have to be realistic here with that. Like, come on. Like I am not a world leader and I had to make time to go there. Like you see what I'm saying? Like
But that's for real though. But no, that's what you expect. This was really and truly just given a week. You had a week to prepare all of this. Now, first and foremost, I'll give them
for a
this,
week that was good.
right? For a week, that was good.
That was great for a week. That
For
was
a week, that
excellent.
was good, right? But ultimately, my initial reaction was it was what we, it was what I initially expected, being that okay, what was promised was we're gonna have the content platforms in the room, and we're gonna be discussing direct platform monetization. Now, I make sure to say direct platform monetization because monetization can come inside many different ways.
Yeah.
That's what was the expectation. However, what happened was something that was more in line with like a showcase. Like it was more of a showcase, and then it was more like content creation 101. You know, that's not necessarily a bad thing per se, but it's like what I came for, that wasn't it. Like it was
Yeah.
content creation 101, how to actually become a content creator, how to earn from content, what's not. And, you know, it was valuable, but it wasn't what I was looking for, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It
what are some of
definitely
the things? No, no,
sorry.
you go.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of gems that was dropped there. But yeah, it wasn't like the ABC 1, 2, 3 steps to actually tell you what to do or like if the platforms are opening. Like we don't have no new insight on whether they plan to do direct monetization on these platforms, even after all of that. Like, mind you, I went there, I learned a lot,
Uh,
and it was a lot of stuff like I kind of already knew, but it's like it kind of expanded on what I already knew. So it was a lot of gems I picked up, but it wasn't like okay, we walked away with like you say, Mark Zuckerberg, and say, man, listen, in 6 months we can get you all straight. Like, come on, man, like.
not, mind you, X was there. We did have X, y'all. We did get
Yeah,
X.
yeah, that was good.
Some of the people from some of the platforms did speak. So we're not
Mhm.
going to take that away from them. But at the same time, when they spoke about the platforms, they were more or less speaking about like the various ways that creators could use the platforms
Yeah, user
and
interface.
possibly get paid, like just to use the interface. So it was kind of in line while kind of not necessarily what we was looking for.
Okay.
So yeah, that was that. Then we had the prime minister come out inside his Steve Jobs outfit. Like like out, he come
Someone
out
said,
in that
I
suit.
can't. I've been thinking about that today. Like, yeah, that was a Steve Jobs outfit. No disrespect to the prime
This
minister, but it just was, it was giving Steve Jobs,
it
it
was
was giving tech
it it
rollout, new iPhone rollout.
it gave innovation. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the vibe.
It gave
That's the vibe.
it gave innovation though. I'm not gonna take that away from him. Like I am not the gatekeeper.
You don't put up.
But what do you think would have been your favorite part of the whole thing? Like your favorite part or the most valuable part?
The most valuable part I actually think was the mixer. Um, just networking and mixing with the different people. I think that's where most of the value probably was created. I did pick up a few gems along the way as far as like the presentations. Like and some of the people who actually did presentations, I was able to connect with them and actually show them like how a pain point they would have touched on is something that I face in my own journey and all that. And stuff like that. But yeah, really the networking aspect, I think that was really good because there's a lot of creators like who we see online, then like when you meet them in person and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, it's just a lot of interesting people.
Real talk. In a short second, we gonna touch. I gonna definitely touch right back on that because the mixer definitely was probably one of the most valuable parts. Just getting to actually see the different creators. It was not my favorite part had to been the panel with the creators like
Yeah.
Vocab, Bodine, Dasque, Zeneo, and then of course Baha Yogi, aka Alex Cuffman. Listen, I get a picture with Alex Cuffman. No one could have talked to me, bro. And their panel, I think, was probably the most valuable because it's different when you hear it from Bahamians who are already done it and are
Yeah.
doing it, like people who are getting millions of views on average, people who have already monetized or what's not, you know. And it was a lot of gems really dropped.
Hmm.
Now, definitely we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Might as well just get it out the way,
Hold on,
right?
before we do that, my favorite part actually that you say the panel was when Vocab went into full pasta mode.
Oh yeah.
Where, yeah, like yeah, because that he ain't start out not once, he ain't trip up on a word, so you know that was something that really was on his mind. But he was 100% right. He was 100% right.
um
Yeah.
said for 2 years it took him to really to perfect this content.
Mhm.
So his main message was, don't rush the process. Every content creator is working towards something greater, and it just takes time, right?
Yeah.
But definitely what I think a lot of people want to know, and it is once again the elephant in the room, and I think that there's no way we could have this without talking about it, right? Was
Mhm.
it a political ploy? Do you
Mm,
think that it was a political ploy?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure of that. It's just that
Mhm.
you have to question the timing. Like the timing has to be questioned. Like the timing has to be questioned. That's yeah, that's but it has to be questioned.
Is it,
Yeah.
mind you, as what I'm seeing, right? First and foremost, I'd like for everybody to understand. So we are not affiliated with any political parties or anything like that, right? But all two of the major political parties have been targeting content creators.
Yeah.
And this isn't something that is a political thing. This is more of a Bahamian thing, right? Bahamian content creators want access to other ways of making, other ways of monetizing, because we do have access to monetization. We really want that direct access to the platforms monetizing us, right? Now, do I think that it was a political ploy? I think that it was strategic. I think
Mhm.
that it definitely had political elements attached to it. And I think that the sooner we just accept it, that's just what it is. Like, it
Yeah.
definitely has political elements to it. There was the timing, then of course, we're trying to get that young people vote. Most of the younger people, they want to be able to make money from content. That
Yeah.
is a viable source of income that the most of the world already has access to, that we want access to as Bahamians. So definitely, if there are promises made to give that, it's something that we could look into, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just the way it's just the way how the country is. Um, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to show, just in business, it's never really a bad thing to put in your shameless plug. But you know, it just is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is. Even though, all right, you could say, okay, the timing is off. I'm just glad the conversation has happened. Because I
Mhm.
am. I don't want this to be like, okay, 6 months down the road, we have no progression in this at all. I think this is something that, all right, y'all brought it up. Now we
Hmm.
need to follow through. We need like continuous updates on what's going on. You know, we need to know that y'all meeting with Meta, X, TikTok, and all of them. We need to know that y'all meeting with them, and this is actually being discussed, and not just okay, when election season over, it's just completely forgotten about. I don't want that to happen. I need follow through. Like I want follow through with this, and I think the public should hold. I mean, with almost everything dealing with politics, we should hold our politicians, our MPs accountable for promises. You know?
Hmm. Yeah, man. I think there wasn't any way that we could have escaped it. Like it's a easy grab, and but it is something that we want. You know, I'm looking at some of the content, the comments here. Someone said,
Oh
seems
yeah,
like all the heavy hitters was out there. Yeah, bro. Like we on that stage, on that stage were people who averaging millions of views per month, like tens of hundreds of millions of views per month. And then I say, so currently you can't earn money doing content other than local sponsors. No, like there are many different ways of making money
yeah,
from content creation. We're going to go inside of that in a few minutes. But there are many different ways to get monetized. I think the conversation that we were having is we want the platforms to give us direct monetization, as in when I create content based on the amount of views that I'm bringing in, I'm actually making money directly from the content, from directly from the platform. That allows me a stream of passive income while I'm making my content. In addition to things like affiliates, things like brand partnerships, things like creating my own products or monetizing a community, you know?
yeah, definitely, definitely.
So the next thing that a lot of people were talking about that I definitely think some misinformation was given, right? People are saying that the government is paying out people.
Yeah, they were saying like the government is going to be paying. I guess they were saying they're going to set up some sort of agency and all that, and basically that to be it was some clarification on that matter.
Hmm.
So from what I gather, it isn't that the government is just going to pay every content creator for everything. It's like I think they plan to work with select content creators, like
Hmm.
similar to like how if you're working with like legacy media, like because political parties do pay news stations for promotion and stuff like that. They do pay for advertisements. Remember election season, everyone know Ray Davis grew up on Cat Island. His parents was subsistence farmers, if I'm not mistaken, because that ad was running like continuously. So I think they planted to use that route. Like that was embedded in everybody's head during the election
Uh,
season. Um,
my
so
parents.
I think they plan to work with different content creators on different projects and campaigns, stuff like that. But it's not
Uh-huh.
just like, okay, I do a dance in my room, I get 100,000 views. Okay, give me money. Like I think it could be like that.
But listen, in the past 24 hours from that whole conference, when I tell you the rabbit hole that I had to go down. So first and foremost, being at the conference, right? They aren't promising per se the for the rumor that the government is paying out content creators. It's not necessarily that, and I just want to offer this clarification based on what they actually said. So what they are doing is they're promising programs first and foremost that will help people to create better content. So definitely one of the things that Bodine would have shouted out was a content creation like masterclass. So they're doing different initiatives that will help content creators create better content, right? Then, and shout out Bodine Victoria. Then the next thing is they're trying to show you how to monetize your content, not just with the direct monetization, but like various types of monetization, your own products, your own communities, your own brand deals. And they was really pushing brand deals and brand sponsorships. That was one of the
Mm-hmm.
main vehicles that was talked about, right? Now, what it is that the government is doing is they are working with agencies and businesses that would link creators to brands for brand ambassadorships. That's one of the things that I remember. Like they was even talking about like this AI system. I ain't gonna lie, that woman talk for so long, and the only thing going to remind us, bro, this whole thing could have been one sentence, right? But basically, right, they have systems in place that will connect creator to the brand in the most efficient manner. That's basically what it is that they're doing. On top of that, right, the government is also allocating funds to actually like kind of sponsor creators like when they're doing their own campaigns. It's not necessary. So that's where the whole quote unquote government payout happens, just as you said, the same way how when political parties or just the government in general actually sponsors radio stations and the Tribune
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, it'll be the same thing for content creators.
Yeah.
Now, additionally to that, they're also going to be encouraging local businesses to partner with content creators. So these are the things that I remember from the actual conference. But I will say this, right? When you are talking about the government going to be sponsoring like content creators, in all fairness, some questions come up.
Yeah.
Some of the questions are, we know our country and we know our culture. We know it's not what you know, it's who you know in a lot of cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some questions that come off the top are like, will there be favoritism based on how tight, the creators are with the government or elected officials?
Yeah.
You know, if I know that I've been a strong member of XYZ party and I'm also a content creator, will my chances be increased even if I'm not bringing in as much as, even if I'm not driving as much traffic as another person who's really, better than me? Like, what is the
Yeah.
criteria for being selected?
Yeah. That's a good question.
What
But I
happens if
think.
you these are the questions, like what happens if your content goes against what the government desires? Not to say that that is something that people are going to be doing, but it begs that question. What if, you have a particular campaign, but I'm making a particular kind of content that you might not like? What happens? Do you pull the plug? What goes on? You know, but
Yeah.
these are some of the things that really just come up. What are your thoughts?
First of all, I am kind of skeptical on governments getting involved with content creators in general. Um, like for example, this is an extreme case, right? You know, Kai
Hmm.
Sanat, right?
Yeah.
I think this is true. I think Kamala Harris, when she was campaigning, she requested to be on Kai Sanat's stream, and I think he denied it,
Hmm.
right? Because he was not trying to get involved in politics at all, right? Then Donald Trump went
uh
on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan said they invited Kamala Harris on, but she didn't want to go because I think it was something about the questions or something like I think they wanted to give him the questions to ask or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, right?
uh
So and he wanted to be more authentic, right? So
mm,
it's like that even gets choppy when dealing with certain content creators because like it loses authenticity and sometimes especially like if you have an audience who values your authenticity they can smell it like they can kind of tell
uh
like like what you're
Yeah.
trying to do you know so it even gets choppy with that and the favoritism part that's something that is that's just a culture not just Bahamian culture that's politics in general. That's just politics in general. That's how it works. Like, if you in with certain people, you're gonna be straight. If you're not in with certain people, even if your numbers are great, Even if
Mm-hmm.
you have that organic reach and all that, you might not get as much opportunities just based on how things are, unfortunately. But yeah, it is that does get a little choppy. So I'm not even sure of like how involved they should be with that. That's like with certain companies, a lot of people don't like it when the government take over certain companies because it's like some people say the quality of the product or the service might go down a bit, stuff like that. So that's something what I'm kind of concerned about, you know, because you might have people who are very talented who might be left out of that opportunity just because they don't have a auntie or uncle or cousin or whatever who's involved with a certain party.
Mm-hmm.
But
Definitely. It,
but
it gets weird.
yeah.
You go.
But a lot of people been talking about this, and they was talking about like the. What are your thoughts on like a lot of people been bringing up, oh, they just want to tax content creators. They just want to they just want to take the money from them first. And I was like, well, if you on TikTok, you ain't gonna make that much money to get taxed like that. And I talked about this in our last live session. I was like, well, the type of money you making from TikTok is like, bro,
Right.
like TikTok, that's for your exposure, but that's for you being discoverable. I never hit up TikTok and be like, oh, I gotta get a bag from this. Like, no, you're not serious. Now, other platforms might be different. Like YouTube is ultimately king, right?
Uh-huh.
But definitely a lot of people gotta learn too how to monetize their content. That's usually like a big barrier to entry. What I notice for a lot of people in this space, because it's almost like a lot of people are very creative. Like when it comes to that, creating a system or like a way to monetize, that's where some of them they have to bring in outside up because they might know how to draw attention and get people to watch their stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not looking at it as like how we could turn this into money per se. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on it? Just like the government being involved, people's speculation of it, because people are gonna be skeptical of everything the government do. But what are your thoughts on all that?
Bro, I can say something that I never thought I would have said. After the past 24 hours of like researching, seeing different people's opinions and looking at the information for myself, I honestly have come to a conclusion that if you really think about it, all of this makes logical sense. Like that was the wow factor for me, right? So, and for our audience, y'all gonna learn something in a second. Let me break down a few things, right? So first and foremost, earlier what you said, like it's just the government trying to go and tax us content creators. It was not. It's so many levels. It's so many levels and layers to this. First and foremost, are you a content creator that's bringing in enough content to even be monetized? Like that's the first question. I mean, are you not bringing in enough content, but bringing in enough views to be monetized? That's like one of the first questions, right? I had to go and try to figure out, like, I had to go and find out how monetization really works, right? So, how monetization actually works is you have to think of the platform almost like an ad marketplace, right? You're actually you're not being paid for your content. You're being paid by the company that is running ads on your content, and you're just being paid a percentage that the platform is sharing with you. As in, so first, let's use YouTube for example. You go on YouTube and you make good content. That content captures a lot of people and captures a lot of viewers, right? Now based on the kind of content that you're creating, right? This depends on your audience, meaning where your audience is located, their income level, and their interests. The content category, like, is your content just purely entertainment? Is it tech? Is it finance? Is it some sort of like self-defense? Then watch time and engagement, you know? Then your content basically becomes like inventory, and then you get a cut of the ad revenue when the platform when the platform runs another business's ads, right? So let me show you how deep this goes, right? You're getting paid for using YouTube as an example, right? You're getting paid for every thousands of views, right? I had to learn about cost per thousand views.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in your particular jurisdiction, our jurisdiction is more inside the Caribbean. So naturally, more than likely we're going to get paid a much lower percentage than say somewhere inside the US or Canada or the UK. So now when you are saying, let's say we get 50 cents every 1,000 views, you as a content creator have to be paying, like, if let's use for example, it was $5 for every 1,000 views and you got 100,000 views, you make $500, right? Initially, for the cost per view. Then the RPN, which is the revenue per view, is when the platform takes their cut. So now the platform is going to take a way bigger cut, say 55%. That's going to leave you with about, like, say 275%, if my math is correct. If it's incorrect, I apologize. Math is in my strong suit, right? So basically, the platform is going to get a bigger slice of whatever it is that you make. Now, remember, the example I used was $5 every thousand views. So you have to be making at least 100,000 views just to get to that $500 mark. For us in the Caribbean, more than likely, the highest that we're probably going to be making is around like $3 per view, if that. So now you're looking at, for every 100,000 views, you're getting $300. So that means you have to be getting millions of views to really start to hit that $1,000 threshold or what's not, right? So that's actually the way that the monetization works with these platforms. You actually have to be getting a certain amount of views because they're using your audience to sell their business, the businesses that are running ads, that opportunity to share their business that is directed to your audience.
Mhm.
So that's the best way I could explain to it, right? Now, let's take it back a step. Now that we've understood a bit more about how monetization works from the platform level, let's actually talk about us in the Bahamas. Our In the Bahamas, we have about 400,000 people, right?
Mhm.
When we talk about content creation from a Bahamian perspective, there is Bahamian viral and then there's actual viral. Bahamian viral is, yeah, everybody basically, and I think you said it before on the previous podcast, right?
Mhm.
With Bahamian viral, basically everybody on the island basically knows your face. You get shared around, but you ain't really leaving the Bahamas.
Mhm.
Now, international viral, everybody around the world knows what happened with that particular piece of content. You feel me? Like years ago when this thing happened on the news, the free the puff movement, when a girl from CR Walker got excused because she had a puff, and then a huge movement start. That's international viral. That's when you're starting to hit all the big media houses, TMZ, all these different things. Like, not to say
Mhm.
that's the kind of content that you're going for, but that's just for the example. So now you have to, as a with us as Bahamians, we're inside a very interesting position where we could talk to the platforms, mind you. The government does not control the monetization. They're not controlling it. It's actually the platforms that control it. That's just one thing I want to get out the way. It's not the government, it's the platforms. The government could only use their influence to have a discussion with the platforms and say, hey, we're interested in doing this. How can we do it? But
Yeah.
now to negotiate, we have to be able to say, as content creators, we are in the Bahamas and we're making um, millions of views. A couple thousand of us are making millions of views for our country or what's not, because it has to be attractive for the platforms to want to say, okay, cool. let's go and invest inside the Bahamas. Because one of the things that I had to realize too is that these platforms are private businesses.
Yeah.
The goal of a business is to make profit. They make their profit by having businesses run ads on their platform. They take a bigger cut, and then whatever is left is what you get in terms of monetization. So, that being said, it has to make business sense for them to actually invest in the Bahamas and want to have their platform monetization allowing, I mean, for Bahamians to use. This is if we wanted to be directly for the Bahamas,
Yeah.
right? So this whole thing that the government is doing, the initiative, initially, I'll be honest, I thought that the conference really didn't make much sense because it was at very kind of high level understanding of content creation. It was content creation 101. I'll be honest. I'll give my honest opinions. It was content creation 101 because a lot of things that they spoke about content creators already knew or have already had the research and were past that level. But now that I understand that for these platforms, there's going to be a different criteria. And for their criteria, they need to be seeing a certain amount of people making content at a high level. And when I say high levels, I'm talking about millions to 10 millions to hundreds of millions of views. So yeah, when I really thought about it, I just was like, wow, literally what has to happen is we in the Bahamas have to create an ecosystem of content creators. And our content creators have to be at a level where they're making millions of views. And when they're making millions of views, then we are negotiating from a stronger point. This is not to say this is exactly what is happening. This is what I personally believe is happening. But this puts us in a position where it's like, hey, we have a couple thousand creators, all of them getting like 10 million views or what's not. Is like, man, work something out.
Mm.
This a lot of money that you could be making from your advertisement budget. Work something out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Because yeah, yeah. Everything you said was correct. Everything you said was right. Because when you look at it from a different perspective, right? Like when you mentioned what I said last time, like viral in the Bahamas versus viral in like in the United States is totally different, right? Is a totally different thing. And what people don't realize, like the Bahamas only has about what for like you mentioned, like 400,000 people, right? Now,
Mhm.
if you're a Bahamian content creator and you want to expand, if you're not trying to appeal to the US audience, right? Depending on the type of content you create, right? You could say, okay, I want to appeal to different Caribbean countries. Now, are you going to appeal to only English speaking Caribbean countries? Because that's about 7, 8 million people, right? Because you got to understand, a lot of the Caribbean they speak French. They come from like the French background, no Creole French, then Spanish, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic. So it's like you have to know exactly who your target audience is, and like you say, you got to know your demographics. And the reality is, and I don't think a lot of content creators realize this, the type of content you make could dictate how much money you could make. I spoke to a guy who does like coaching, like he does marketing, he does TikTok marketing, social media marketing, and he was saying that like a lot of people think that their type of content just because they see a different content creator making so much money doing something like with a similar follower count, they don't realize like that's not their niche, that's not their type of content, and they're not going to make that type of money producing what they produce. Not that they can't make money, it's just that they will have to probably get way more people watching, or they'll have to find a different way to monetize. So they might have to, everyone is just say like make a digital product. That's the thing what people have to do. And to usually do that, you have to like build a community because let me
Mhm.
tell you something. You don't want to be someone who just goes viral. And I like to compare it like this, right? Going viral without like piggybacking or really building community around it is like lighting a paper on fire, right? Once that's going to burn through very, very quickly. When you're actually building consistency, and this is why they say consistency over virality or consistency over intensity, right? When you build
Mhm.
like consistency over time and you build that relationship with your audience, that's like wood, that burning like wood. You gotta still put flames on it, but that's gonna last much longer. It'll still put wood on the fire so it keep going and going, but it's gonna last much, much longer. So that's
Hmm.
how I kind of think about it. Like a lot of people just wanna chase views, but it's almost like they will struggle to keep a long, like really like to build on like, all right, this is almost like the difference between being an influencer and a performer, if that makes sense. Like a
Hmm.
performer performs to an audience. When I think of an influencer, I think more of community impact. Like what they actually say, what they say actually matters. People actually take what they say more credibly, or they'll have more of like they're the ones who kind of start trends and stuff. Like that's what I think about when I think of like influencer. Um, but yeah, this is going to be, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it is going to create a lot of opportunities, but like you say, I think it's just a numbers game, but we just don't have the numbers. And not to say we can't get monetized, it's just that,
Hmm.
yeah, like, because for a big
Like,
creator,
but
so
when I tell you that it was definitely a shocker to me, like actually coming to that perspective, because as I said initially, I thought the conference was more or less like a waste of time outside of the content creators actually having speaking their piece and then the mix and mingle, because I think the mix and mingle was really important for the ecosystem. Like
mm,
we could talk about the problems all day,
yeah,
but first we have to understand what the real problem is. The real problem is not that the government is stopping monetization. In fact, in this particular instance, the government is actually pushing the monetization, or at least having the conversation, right? Second, second is understanding that the real problem is that we need to make ourselves attractive to the platforms, you
yeah,
know. And when we make ourselves attractive to the platforms, monetization becomes like just a short, not really a short bet, but an easier conversation. It's like, hey,
yeah,
it's
because you have leverage.
I got leverage now, you know.
Mm,
But now, when it comes to us, we don't give the problem and not give the solution. So some of the ways that we could actually find a solution for this is, you know, we have to understand that we have to have consistent, high quality, and valuable content. One of the things that, once again, shout out to Bodine Victoria. Bodine talked about how content needs to be Bodine talked about making your what it was now, making your resume and being
yeah,
valuable. You know,
yeah, your
content
content.
does yeah, content doesn't necessarily mean just the video content. She talked about the blogs. The blogs allow you SEO, right? Basically Google and the various search engines can now see what it is that your content is about, and it helps them to and it brings up your content when people search or Google whatever. Now even with the AI, there's AEO, right? Where now when you actually put your content, your written content in such a way, the AI now picks it up. So now ChatGPT is the one recommending your content, and when it comes to consistency, is your content consistent? Then earlier, there was a guy who actually really gave a great take. I can't I think his name is Patrick. Shout out to Patrick. I can't remember what Patrick's last name is, right? He was talking about how you need to increase also the quality of the content. you know how does the content look? How is it being shot? Are you doing b-roll? Are you doing like different angles or what's not? Is the content good? Then we even have to talk about scalability. you know Not
Mm,
all content that does well numbers wise is content that a business could run ads on you
yeah,
know So you have to think about these various things. And when you actually start to get those numbers up, and you could actually say on your resume, hey, I pull in about 1 million views a month on each platform, or what's not. Guys, I'll be honest with you. We are a very small nation. Not to say that we're not talented. We're very much talented and we could make a very big impact. But when we want to have this conversation about content monetization, it's like it becomes more of a business conversation. Now the conversation turns into, all right, I know what I could do for you. What can you do for me?
Yeah, yeah,
And
because
yeah,
yeah, because a lot of people, I think you did touch on it earlier. A lot of people get misconstrued, like, oh, is the government holding us back from this? And I was like, no, man, like the platform themselves have to see the value in doing this, like. But I still think it's unfair, right? I still feel it's unfair because it's
mhm,
like you're allowed to create content in that country, but they say, all right, you could get 100,000 Bahamians to watch your videos, right? But we ain't gonna
uh,
pay you for that, bro. It's like, now, if you was in the States and you get 100,000 Americans to watch it, yeah, we would have pay you. But it's like, hold on, like that don't make no sense. And I know, like, obviously, like I make content. Obviously, I know I can't compete with them dudes in the States. Like, yeah, they getting a million. Some of them getting a million on a slow day. Like, so and
mhm,
granted, a million in America ain't not much because that's technically that's almost like 1,000 a day here, or that's like 1,500 views when you really scale it, because they have like
mhm.
300 million people. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you really gotta have a realistic view of it when it comes to content creation, and know, like, all right, set a realistic expectation. Like you're not gonna blow up on TikTok and Facebook and all that, then say, all right, I could just drive off into the sunset, buy me, import me a sports car. Like you could find other ways to make money, like definitely do like streaming and all that. Like that's how a lot of streamers make money. Is like they set up streams and they do stuff like that. And they do a lot of brand deals. So
Uh,
there is money to be made. There is money to be made, but you have to know like who you're appealing to, your audience. So like you brought up the when you was talking about like knowing based on who your audience is and your demographic, who follows you, right? I used to watch
mhm,
a lot of Bloomberg. The average person who watches Bloomberg probably has a higher net worth than someone who watches MTV, and it's not a job. It's
mhm.
just that the type of people who watch Bloomberg, they're usually into investing, stocks, business,
Wealthy
corporate.
people.
Yeah, like that's what it is. And the type of content they create is even different. So, how people would say stuff like, oh, you don't see Rolls Royce commercial and all that because the people who can afford it don't watch TV. That's
Uh,
foolishness. Like, that's the foolishness. Let's be real. That's foolishness. That was just a generic quote. You want me to tell
uh,
you what Rolls Royce will do? Rolls Royce is not going to bring on a 30-second commercial to run on BET. You know what I'm saying? Or like TLC. No,
uh,
Nickelodeon. They're not going to run a 30-second ad on Nickelodeon, right? It isn't like the kid's going to point and say, hey, mommy, daddy, look at Rolls Royce. Let's go buy that car. No. What they'll do is, and this is where you get back to what you said about the quality of content, they will
mhm,
set up a 30-minute or 20-minute segment talking about a brand new Rolls Royce, all the new features, this, that, the improvements they made over the years, going down, sitting with sitting down with engineers, explaining it in detail, right?
mhm,
But they ain't doing no 1 minute clip like, oh, just drive fast, just pull up in the club, and all everybody looking at you. No, like they actually put it together, like they package this and make it say like, all right, by the end of this 20, 30 minutes, we can make you call your dealer to see if you can buy it. Because you speaking to a different person now. That person don't make 1 minute decisions who you're talking to. You see what I'm
uh,
saying? You gotta make that person feel immersed. You gotta talk to them about stuff they care about. So it's
mhm.
like you gotta know how to speak to certain audience, all of that.
Yeah, man. Listen, when I say this goes deep, it goes deep, just as you said. You have to know your audience and know the audience that you're speaking to. You have to know your particular niche, some people
Yeah.
say, right? But I also wanted to talk about the different ways that you could monetize, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people think that um getting paid directly is the only way to monetize. That is more of the passive way, I would
Yeah.
say. And even that, I can't even truly call it passive because you got to be consistent. People are getting
Yeah.
paid and they're not even posting as much. And we've met people like that,
Yeah.
shoots. In I would say watch our previous podcast because we had Great Leon, and Great Leon actually told us how he's going to Africa. He didn't stop posting on YouTube from a while ago, and he gets his check in the mail every month. But
Yeah.
there's other things that he's doing to get more money. Some of the things that were discussed. Baha Yogi talked about how she does yoga retreats. She's known for fitness and doing yoga, so she actually has a one yoga retreat. Where does that come underneath? That comes underneath productization of your community. Whatever it is that you're known for that you do, you make community events. Even this
Mhm.
Thursday, we're having a community event at Cafe Amore. Shameless plug. Come through.
Mhm.
It's a free event. We're gonna have crypto and coffee. Come through, right? Then you
Definitely.
also have brand deals. Definitely, if you already using a particular product, you could actually reach out to the brand, say, "Hey, yo, I get this amount of views. I do this amount of traction. Um, I would love to review your product or what's not," and you could have that discussion. You know, one of the things that Bodine once again said, you have to provide value to the brands that you're working with. You have to understand the brand inside and out. You have to understand what it is they like, what it is they don't like. And you have to make sure that you become almost like an advocate for that brand. Because when the brand sees that you are an advocate for them, they have no problem paying you that money. She even said, barter is sometimes better than the money. Sometimes you can make a deal with the brand where it might not directly be money, but it could lead to a much better win
Marketing.
down the line.
Yeah.
Another thing she would have talked about is build your website, optimize for SEO, and make different services. You have to make services that people could buy. Literally, one of our own issues with CryptoNoobz was just we just didn't create anything for people to purchase.
Mhm.
and that was like something where it's like, yo, if you
Yeah.
just make a digital product or merch or something, but just make something to purchase, a simple mug. If you already then know that you're getting thousands upon thousands of people watching your content, make something small just to start getting
Mhm.
that money coming in, just some ideas. And I'm gonna be honest, while we are doing this and we're trying to get monetization for the Bahamas, what I'll say is this, and I'll be very honest with this. I love the initiative. I think that it is a great initiative, but we know that it's going to take some time to build it out. Take the flight. For goodness sake, take the flight.
So
Take the
say,
flight.
open up your bank account.
Wait, take the flight. Open up your Bank of America account. Go try and get your LLC and go try hard make this money.
Better try to do that now. You know, Donald Trump came in on.
Wait, this is not financial advice, by the way.
There you go. You can show Donald Trump the same video when he locked you up. They're coming here, taking all of our opportunities. They're
Wait,
trying to get monetized off our dollar.
take the flight, okay? What I absolutely love it, but you got to take the flight. Take the flight, bro. But yeah, man, that's that's
Tell
all.
me to take the flight.
That's it. Leon gave a step by step understand. Leon is someone who's from our previous podcast episode before this one. He's a Bahamian. He has over 2,000 followers on YouTube. He encouraged people to take the flight, and he actually told everyone step by step how to do it. So go on that video. He explains it very well. Take the flight. But yeah, man, like
Yeah,
that is basically everything for tonight. Is there anything else you'd want to say?
um, what do you think? Like, just a general consensus of like the people online, because you mentioned that you was like looking at the comments and all that. I really in that time. I was not reading all those paragraphs. Like, I really don't have the time for that. I just saw paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. It's like, man, it's like and it, like, even though I'm not doing anything, it's like I just would rather not do anything than read this right now. It's like not that they ain't speaking sense, right? It's just that, but I can't. Like,
I
everybody have an opinion right now, and it's like, no, wait, I got this information overload.
the general the general consensus of what I'm seeing is they're asking like
Government,
should
government trying to tax and thief the money. That's all. That's
all day,
it.
all day. Listen, right? So should content creators depend on the government or their own supporters and fans? Um, I think that
Right.
they should be dependent on their own supporters and fans. Content creation is a business, and I think that that's something that we need to come to terms with. It's a
Yeah.
business, and we are also business people. Make content that people would actually want to buy from you, so that you don't even have to worry about the government and whatever it is that they're doing. I think they're doing a good initiative, to be honest, but
Yeah.
I honestly think independence and being independent, regardless whether or not they're doing a good job or bad job, that's the best position to be in.
Yeah. Because now, like, for example, if you become too reliant on the government as a content creator, every election you shaking in your boots because you wondering if So basically,
Oh,
you just like some of these people with these favorable government jobs who just, you know, like that's where
the
I'm
government
like,
take my salary.
yeah, that's when you can find out how loyal your fan base and your community really is. It's like, like that's when you can really find out.
But watch this. Okay, the next comment is I think this is an interesting topic and very complex, but you could have a lot of reach and views, but might not align with a specific brand or audience.
That's
You
fine.
could. I think in that case, you just need to see who you align with. Like, I don't think that
Imagine me,
that's a, you can talk.
imagine me trying to get a brand partnership with Wendy's or lickety split or something. Like, I mean,
You know,
besides me being fat, I don't really can't really what I can speak to.
we somewhere along the finance, economics, and tech space
Yeah,
area. So it's like a partnership with Wendy's wouldn't work. I think it's also you knowing your brand and you knowing the type of brands that you could align with.
yeah. Let's
When
try to
we
get
talk,
let's
huh?
try to get a brand. Let's try to get a brand with V12, the nightclub where there's our fights every other week.
What I say?
Yeah, let's try to get a brand new up there.
Then someone said most creators don't know business, and that is a major element to running a content creation career. The content is the product. The product has to be has to have a specific audience and solve or deliver value. Yeah,
Yeah.
it gotta have a purpose. So the thing is, most Bahamians make a lot of funny content,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not a bad thing, but the question is, at the end of the day, you know, does your content is your content having enough reach, and is it formatted in such a way that you could actually have a particular brand really want to work with you? Like Zeneo, I think Zeneo did an excellent job. He made Saj and he made Brownie, right?
Yeah.
And although it was funny content, you know, he then created this character, put it inside different situations. I even think he even dialed back the cursing a lot, the thing, because Zeneo used to curse
And
inside a lot of his videos.
appeal a wider audience.
Yeah. So he
Mm.
dialed that back a bit. And what you saw now, you see now he got brand sponsorships with like KFC and things like that. A
Yeah.
little bit more for family oriented, but still funny.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. That person who said that, that's actually a good way to look at it. Yeah, content is the product. Like, because we all know people like who run certain businesses, right?
Mm,
They are good at what they. So, for example, let's say someone opens up a restaurant. They are great chefs. They are great at cooking. But to be honest, they either have to bring in a consultant or work with a partner to handle the business aspect of it because that ain't something either they are too versed in or something they really care about as much. Um, like I watched a video where this girl, what's she name? Cooking with Kaye. No, I don't think cooking
cooking
with Kaye
with
is.
Kaya. Cooking.
Yeah,
I love cooking with
I don't
Kaya.
think she's in any like financial stress, right? But there was like a rumor of her saying, "Oh, she going broke." That's that and the third. Because I think TikTok cut like what they was paying creators, and
Mm,
someone was saying when you look at her fan base, she like she got the popularity and all that, right? But she did not monetize or like own a community effectively, right?
mm,
And a lot of creators are doing that. It's almost like they're more concerned with just being popular or being known, but not really knowing how to own your audience. Because someone when they brought that up, they talked about how they work with a client, and she was saying that this client had like almost 1 million followers, but the money he was making on TikTok literally wasn't enough to cover his bills, right? And basically, the type of content he was creating, she had to tell him like, yeah, this is not something that's that monetizable. Like he had to switch it up a bit, and he had to start providing a service. Then he started becoming like making money doing that, right? But the way how he just was doing it, even though it was getting clicks, views, and likes, it wasn't something that brands would pay for per se. Like he had to kind of switch it up. So that, all those are things you got to take into consideration.
yeah, man. I would say for creators, Bahamian content creators, I would say that we got some work to do. I do think this initiative, once again, I was the type of person that I just saw this as content creators 101 until I realized what's really going on. When you look at the whole picture, we need something like this to actually go and push content creators. And once again, y'all, please don't make this a political thing because we are not affiliated with any sort of politics. I can tell
Yeah,
you straight out the gate, you're not
yeah,
affiliated with any type of politics or what's not, but we have to call a spade a spade. This is actually the conversation that we've been waiting to have, and it has been brought forth. They are actually doing something to kind of bring all the creators together and you know I kind of positive towards it. I'm positive towards whatever the next steps that happens, but I'm
yeah.
still telling a the flight, in my opinion. In my opinion, I rather sure
Yeah.
over unsure. I rather know, hey, this pans out, great, that's great for all of us. It doesn't pan
And,
out, that's cool.
and I'm gonna give some people some advice. If you're not interested in content creation, don't just try to hop on this for a money grab because you're gonna get burnt out. And it's easier ways to make money. Like I can tell you all that right now. Because let me tell you something. The easiest way to get burnt out is to do something that you're not really that interested in doing it. Do and I'm gonna do it every day. Like they talk about some content creators like YouTubers and all that. They say like some TikTokers, they say if you watch their videos as it go on, like you see the soul leave their eyes slowly, like every time they do a video. Like I it was like slowly you start to see where their eyes just they're not interested in that. Like it's almost like they just doing it to do it. But they're like, yeah, but no, their original enthusiasm is not there at all. And
Like,
yeah, so you just gotta know what you're doing, man.
yeah,
You gotta
but
know what
this
you're doing.
it's
Don't
a
just
long term thing, but this
yeah,
ain't
don't just
easy,
try to
son.
bandwagon this.
Yeah, boy. But for everyone who came out, I would actually say one last thing though. I would actually tell them to check out the Bahamas creator economy thing. Two things I would say. First and foremost, we actually have Bahamian that is trying to make their own platform. Um, I got a pitch, not really pitch, but I got to at least kind of show some of the other options that are now come forth. Let me see if I can find it. Da, 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 da. All right, you guys can see the screen. Oh wait, there you go. Straight up, I got a pitch in pilot. So basically, we have a local Bahamian that is making their own platform, something where we could actually get paid much more per thousand views than what YouTube or any of the other bigger platforms are giving. So this is pilot.app. This is still in development, but this is made by Bahamians for Bahamians. So definitely you can check that out. Once again, pilot.app. And then the next thing that I just realized, mind you, I just realized this like after doing the research was that insight where the government was doing all of this, right? When I went back to the site because I was looking for the live, I realized that they actually have like learn where you could go and press these buttons and it gives you like information on content creation, right? But then I press earn, where it was not earn platforms. This is what really had gained my interest, right? They actually had showing the YouTube partner program, the Twitch affiliate, Meta, Instagram Reels coming soon on X. So they're showing what's available from what's not available. So this is really interesting. And I don't know what my boss is about. I see they also have Connect. I think like these are um different platforms or something like that. I remember Agento from the conference. This is like the AI platform that connects creators to brands and what's not. So yeah, you can go and check out the site, play along with it. Seems very AI created, but that's what's up. That's cool. Love new tech. But yeah, man, like for everybody, what I'd say is, oh shoots, I wasn't even showing it. I gotta do better. So
I thought
anyway,
it's all
going back,
yeah,
say it again.
I thought it was an issue from my
You
end.
can see it.
Yeah.
No man, that was me. So basically, this is the Bahamas creator economy. This is the people behind the conference.
Mhm.
I was just showing off the site. I had actually walked on the site when I was looking for this. I wanted to see the replay of the whole of the whole thing, so you could have see like what was what. As I said, the whole thing a bad. It wasn't necessarily a bad conference. It just wasn't what I came there for. But yeah,
Mhm.
so these are different platforms that they have partnered with that you could use and view. I see Stan Store. If we actually gain access to Stripe here in the Bahamas, listen, I would love for this. Content creators go and eat. Okay. Then they actually got to learn basically content creator 101. So for people who are just getting started, I guess that would be like really helpful. And then where it is platforms. So they have here what is actually available to us right here, right now. Once again, this is not sponsored. This isn't a pitch or anything like that. It's just something that I came across because at the end of the day, our goal is to help out Bahamian creators. Whichever government does that, great job. Because I sincerely don't care which one does it. All I'm saying is somebody has to do it. We are looking for different ways of making money, and that's all we're asking for. So that being said, you know, thanks again for coming on yet another episode of the podcast. Once again, for everyone, we are having our event at Cafe Amore this Thursday, 6 o'clock. Come and join us. Come hang out with us. We can talk crypto. We can talk digital finance, online opportunities. If you disagreed with anything on the podcast, come talk to us face, man. Like I will see you disagree. In person.
Well,
Pull up on us. But yeah, that being said, you guys have a great night. Okay. Right.